And we are back on the Zero Hour. I am Richard RJ Eskow. This is our special report on Ferguson, USA. Joining us now is Nelini Stamp. She is the coordinator of Freedom Side Network and the director of strategic partnerships and youth engagement for the Working Families Organization. She is, I believe, on the ground there as part of Dream Defenders in the Ferguson area, but if not, she will set me right. Nelini Stamp, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm the former strategic director of strategic partnerships and youth engagement at Working Families Organization. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, but the real question is, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I am not in. I'm no longer in Ferguson, but still communicating to people on the ground there and trying to help support because a lot of people nationally have been looking into, youth who have been calling and saying, how do we support Ferguson? Organizations, both who have been around for a long time and new organizations that have been born in the last couple of years, have been asking about what has been going on the ground in Ferguson. And it's a lot, but it's a lot. There are a couple of things that is needed in Ferguson that they've asked for. Medics from people who are particularly street medics who have experience with some of the stuff on the ground that's happening, experience with chemical, warfare like tear gas and mace and pepper spray in a large combination. They're looking for attorney support whenever possible. And other folks are actually telling people to organize in their own communities, stay where they're at so they can organize locally so we can really handle this problem at hand, which is not just the exercising of First Amendment rights, but it's the root of the problem. There was every 28 hours, according to a report by the Malcolm X grassroots movement, a black man is shot and killed by an officer.
And I think you find, by and large, this is the invisible tragedy, invisible to most people outside those communities. That's going on across the country, and our philosophy here on this show is everything that's going on in this country right now. Every issue is a youth issue because younger people are going to inherit this world. So all of its economic and environmental and political conditions are youth issues. But this really is a youth issue, right? Because when we talk about a black man being shot and killed every 48 hours, we're talking by and large about young black men, aren't we?
I don't know exactly what the report says, but overwhelmingly it is young black men that are shot and killed every 28 hours and by a police officer or an officer of the law in this country. Mm-hmm.
So and now when you went out to Ferguson and now when you're going back, obviously we need things like attorneys and before we let you go, we'll talk about where people can go to get more information, maybe help. So we need people like attorneys, we need people like medics, and so on. And by the way, something we mentioned earlier, but worth repeating, is that the use of CS gas or tear gas, both of which I believe have been used. We had our own guys tear gas. They kept the canister. CS gas is actually in warfare forbidden by international law, but police are allowed to use it on our own people. So you need medics, you need attorneys, but in terms of organizing and helping communities organize themselves, what in particular did you find when you went out to Ferguson?
You mean the local community there, or in terms of organizing in across the country?
Well, both, because I would guess that the local communities' needs reflect those of communities around the country.
Yeah. So, the local community has been trying to uplift the youth who have been organizing. There have been young people like Tori, who I did not get to meet because unfortunately he was locked up for a full day, and who have been organizing themselves. Like people were self-organizing. The community of Ferguson was self-organizing. There was also organizations like Missouri's Organizing for Reform and Empowerment there, who have been an institution in St. Louis for a while. as well as the Organization for Black Struggle that has been there for a while. But the key has been, and this is from Montego from the Organization of Black Struggle said, none of us have ever faced something in this manner, in this way. And this is all stuff that we're dealing with for the first time. Not the actual murder, but the repression that's happening from police because people are assembling, because they are sick and tired of being sick and tired. So there have been organizations like Dream Defenders and the Black Youth Project, BYP 100, who have gone in to show help and some support to give some tips in organizing Black youth, because those are what those organizations primarily work with. And then across the country, people have been asking and reaching out of, how do we support this? What is it going to take for it to end? Because not just, it's not, we saw 2 public murders in the last month, with the death and murder of Eric Garner in my hometown of Staten Island, New York, and also Mike Brown in Ferguson, John Crawford in Ohio, in Beaver Creek, Ohio, in a Walmart where the Ohio State Student Association organized to make sure that the Attorney General released the tapes to their parents. So there is organizing happening locally across the country. This morning, Charlene Carruthers, the national coordinator for BYP 100, and you can find that at byp100.org, wrote an article saying what people can do locally in their own communities if they are frustrated with the system at hand. There are things that people can do at the local level, like city council, like legislation on the city council level. If you live in a big city like Chicago, like Charlene does, right? People are calling for front-facing cameras. Some national demands is that the Department of Justice look into habitually bad police departments that have a record number of arrests, murders, and killings, to have front-facing cameras, which the police commissioner of New York, Bill Bratton, said that it would actually be safer for officers to have front-facing cameras because it shows what they do and do not do, right? So there's a lot of things that are going on, and people can do stuff in their local community around this. And, just another thing about the front-facing cameras, the other day, about a week ago after the Eric Garner murder, the public advocate of New York City, Letitia James, put out, some budgeting around, let's do a pilot program on front-facing cameras and let's see if this works. And then places where they do have this, in other countries, I don't really have the stats for it, but apparently it has decreased the number of killings and murders of people because of the camera, because they know they're on camera.
And for people who don't know, the front-facing camera, actually the officer would wear it, right? So people would actually see more or less what the officer sees, and would be able to track the officer's behavior. And so we would have no situation like Michael Brown's death where there's a haze of misinformation or confusion. We would know precisely his position at the time of death and so on. Now, we got about a minute left.
Everything. Yes.
Right. So in the minute we've got left, Nelini Stamp, let's do a little instant micro-organizing right here. If people want to know more and want to help, where can they go?
Absolutely. People can visit the Organization for Black Struggle's website, and more Missourians Organizing for Reform and Empowerment Facebook for updates, live updates, how they can help and support a bail fund is on that Facebook page. And there is going to be, the people of Ferguson are calling for a National Day of Action this Tuesday. Because his Mike Brown's funeral is going to be on Monday, and so people are calling for a National Day of Action on Tuesday to go to the Department of Justice and support the national demands that are out there. A website is coming up soon. They're working on it right now, but as soon as we have the information, we'll let you all know what the website link is and when it goes live.
And as soon as we have it, we'll push that out to our listeners and readers. So we've been talking with Nelini Stamp, who's coordinator for the Freedom Side Network and has been on the ground in Ferguson, helping to unite the efforts of individual communities with that of laterally with other communities across the country. Nelini, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
You bet. I'm Richard. RJ Eskow will be back after this. This is The Zero Hour.